Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to unlock a really powerful method for proving your impact. It's a playbook, really, designed to convince even the toughest skeptics that what you're doing truly matters.
Okay, so let's just dive right in, because we've all been there, right? You're in a meeting, maybe you're trying to convince your boss or a client or a funding committee that your project is making a real difference. But how do you go beyond just saying you have influence to actually, proving it?
While to prove real influence, we first have to get our terms straight. See, it's easy to say you're multidisciplinary, that you work in parallel across different fields. But the real power move here is achieving something called plural-domain dominance. This isn't just about being present, it's about actively shaping multiple domains. Honestly, it's the difference between just being at the party and actually running the party.
So how do we get from just being at the party to running it? How do we build a case for our influence that's backed by undeniable, totally rigorous evidence?
Okay, so here's the formal definition. But what does that really mean? It's not about being a jack of all trades. It's about being a master of influence. It's the ability to demonstratively change the conversation, or the methods, or even the direction of several different fields all at once.
And the solution, the way to prove it, is this methodical playbook. I want you to think of it as a toolkit for building your case, one that's designed to survive the scrutiny of even the most skeptical people in the room.
Think of it like this. Instead of making one big, kind of vague claim, you're gathering specific pieces of proof from different channels of influence. Each piece, what we're calling a vector, tells a part of the story, and when you put them all together, they create this totally irrefutable case.
So what's the core of this playbook? Well, this is where it gets really cool. It breaks down that big abstract idea of influence into very specific, very measurable channels. Let's take a look. Turns out there are 10 of these main vectors, and each one represents a distinct way your work can ripple out and really shape the world around it. We're going to group them into 3 main categories to make it simple.
Okay, first up, we've got the classic measures of intellectual clout. This is the stuff you'd expect, right? Producing new knowledge through publications, seeing that knowledge cited by others, especially across different fields, and, this is a big one, having your actual methods adopted and used by other people.
But influence goes so much deeper than just publications. This playbook also measures your ability to build lasting structures. Are you founding new research centers? Are you winning grants that pull resources from different departments? Are you the one creating the very conferences and workshops where brand new ideas are born?
And finally, we get to the ultimate proof, real-world impact. This is where the rubber really meets the road. We're talking about patents and software that people actually use, shaping official policy documents, and fundamentally changing what gets taught in the classroom. So let's just zoom in on one of these vectors to see how this actually works. Let's take policy and societal impact. To prove this, you'd gather evidence showing your work is cited in official government reports, or that you've been invited to serve on these really important advisory boards.
And you can measure this in 2 ways. Quantitatively, you can count the hard number of citations in those policy documents. But you also need the qualitative proof, right? Like documenting your membership on an influential advisory panel. That tells a story that the numbers alone just can't. Okay, so you've gone through all 10 vectors, you've gathered dozens of pieces of evidence. What now? How do you pull it all together into a picture that's clear, compelling, and just impossible to ignore? You follow this really clear 4-step recipe. First, you gather the raw scores, like number of citations. Second, you normalize them, which is just a fancy way of saying you adjust the data so you can fairly compare apples to oranges across different fields. From there, you combine these into a single score for each of the 10 vectors, and boom, you create one overall composite index of your influence. And the entire goal of this whole process is transformation. It's about taking this mountain of complex, varied data and boiling it down, synthesizing it into one single, clear picture of your unique footprint on the world. And this is the ultimate payoff, the executive dashboard. A lot of times, it's a radar chart, which is perfect because it shows your unique influence profile in a single glance. It immediately highlights where you're an absolute powerhouse and maybe where you have some room to grow. It tells this incredibly rich story in one simple visual.
So you have your dashboard. The final step is to use it to make a confident, evidence-backed declaration of your leadership.
Now, this isn't about just saying, hey, I'm a leader. It's about proving it by meeting very specific, totally defensible thresholds. You can benchmark yourself against your peers, showing you're in the top percentile. You can prove you've crossed specific impact thresholds in several different fields. You could demonstrate sustained leadership over time, or you can present a triangulated bundle of proof, combining that hard data with those compelling qualitative stories.
For example, you could prove you've exceeded a key impact threshold in 3 or more distinct domains. Maybe that means showing your work is in the top 10% for citations in each of them.
Or you could prove your influence is sustained, demonstrating significant impact across multiple vectors for 5, maybe more years. This shows your leadership isn't just a flash in the pan. It's consistent and it's lasting.
And this is what it all comes down to. You're walking into that meeting with that skeptic, not with vague buzzwords, but with a robust, data-driven, and meticulously documented case for your influence that they simply can't argue with. So the big takeaway here is this: proving your value doesn't have to be a battle of opinions. With a methodical approach, it can become a clear, powerful demonstration of your unique dominance. And it leaves just one question: what story would your data tell?